right, we're back in on this Garrard 990B, trying to figure out why this tone arm gets stuck in the groove and does not progress. I've had a few different ideas in a previous video. None of those worked out, so I've completely taken the tone arm off. There were a couple of things I wanted to check while I had the tone arm completely taken off. First, I thought I was kind of hoping that this tube would have been bent at a jaunty angle to cause a little bit of friction as it turns inside of this area right here. If I can focus in, that's not the case. It's pretty. It's level all the way around. The second idea was this washer right here being too thick. I've not been the first person to get in and work on this turntable, this Garrard 990B. As when I took this apart, instead of, see this red stuff, that's the grease I put on there. Whoever got in here before me put oil on everything. And so I was thinking it's entirely possible that they took that apart, lost the washer that was supposed to be there, because from memory, on the other 990Bs I've worked on and some of the other Garrard Zeros, which have this exact same setup, that they lost the smaller washer and put a different washer, one that would be, under here, that would be used under here, and use that, and that's causing the additional friction. However, that's just not the case. Got another Garrard 990B out in the garage, so I went out there, lifted the tone arm up just a little bit so I could get eyes on the washer that's on that one, and it's the exact same size. So that's not the problem. So that really just leaves me back on this little what the hell is the word for this stupid thing? Bearings. Yeah, enclosed bearings. So I've ran it through, I've soaked it in a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I poured a little bit into the cap and let it soak, and I took this toothpick and twisted the inside around. So it would not surprise me. So I'm kind of running out of ideas here, but it would not have surprised me if the person that got into this turntable before me, put some sort of oil in there that actually gummed it up. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let this dry out for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to put it back together, and then before I cinch it back down, I'm going to hit it with a few drops of this all-purpose sewing machine oil. And then instead of connecting all of this and putting, where's that linkage? This guy right here, which connects to this guy, which goes right here, and that's where that metal ball bearing fell out. I'm just going to leave this unattached to that. So that way, when it is playing on the record, if it's still stuck, I'm going to throw this damn thing in the trash. But also, I'm thinking if it's not stuck and it's not connected to any of the linkages below on the underside of the turntable, and then when I hook it back up and it gets stuck, then the issue is somewhere here. And quite frankly, there's only one spot it could be, because it would probably be back over here on this part right here, because this tone arm, this little guy right here, comes up through this post. Sorry. Are you going to focus for me? There you go. Thank you. There we go. All right, so that post goes through this hole. That's tightened on by that screw. And then this is the wire that goes across. So if it plays fine without this attached and then jams up again after I put this together correctly, then there's probably some oil or grease in this track causing that friction. So I have to take that off and clean that up and see where we're at from there. All right, so we've got the tone arm balanced. I got the tracking force set at 1.5 grams. Chicago spinning at 33. Well, this guy's probably going a little bit fast, so probably 33.5 or whatever. I don't care. So it's an aftermarket stylus, so it's not an original Shure stylus. So the tracking force we'll need for this to sit in the groove, excuse me, is going to vary. The packaging said 1.25, but since it's an aftermarket spot, I've never really been able to get it to track at those recommended things. So we're going to start it at 1.5 grams, and we're just trying to make sure it sits in the groove and progresses forward on the record. And if it does, then we're good to go. If not, I think we'll try it at a little bit heavier. There we go. Zoom in. Zoom in. What? Okay, so let's see if we can. There we go. Oh. Well, first off, I guess to get it in the groove. So let's try that again. I nudged the table just a little bit, so let's try that just a little bit. So that's definitely positive. That's definitely a pro. So right now it's looking like the culprit was gummed up. Oh, what in the hell is that thing called again? Bearings. Thank you. Gummed up bearings. Okay, cool. So I'm going to call this a success so far. Of course, devil's in the details. I do need to put the remainder of the auto gears or the linkages back together and rerun that test, and also resolder the Tonearm wire to the RCA connectors, and pray to God that I did not break this 60 some odd year old Tonearm wire to go through all this and then just rewire the Tonearm. I may scream. But ultimately, that's how we're going to figure out on whether or not it's really solved, because there's entirely possible that it will stick at a different port in the record, or we fixed it. And it's really the only two options here. It's either fixed or it's not fixed. So I think for this video, no. It's like kissing the bull. Got grabbed by the horns, go mwah, and then just keep going. So we're going to keep hacking at it. A little update. I haven't added any of these pieces yet because I've wanted to see if it'll still progress without them, to make sure. I really don't want to put those together and take it apart just to add more oil to those bearings. But so far, since I put it back on the track, it's made it through most of this record. Now, again, I don't have it hooked up to a stereo or anything, so it's entirely possible there may be some hiccups on. It could get stuck right now. It could be getting stuck later in the groove, but I'm kind of hoping it just goes all the way to that dead wax, that end of the side, and then I'll feel comfortable putting it back together and then running this again to see if we really fixed it. All right, so we have it all put back together. All of the bits and pieces are in place underneath there. I've soldered the Tonearm back to the audio output. It's still not hooked up to my stereo. I want to see if this will, well, before I hook it up, I want to see if it'll just make it through the side without it. Again, it may help if I actually put it in the groove. Okay, so we may, let's see, I've got it at 1.5 grams like I did last time. Let's just go a little bit heavier. See if that's... It's still sticking. Okay, so yeah, that's not good. Okay. What happens if I go to 2 grams? Why would 2 grams
Well, we don't know if the 2 grams work. I'm going to have to hook it up to the stereo to see if this works.
Okay. All right, it's still stuck in the groove. So it is getting resistance from somewhere under here, probably this linkage right here, which goes all the way under to that cinder spindle where that ball fell out. So we're going to go and take that stuff off again, because remember, it worked when it wasn't connected to that. So it's this part on down. Yeah, so something in here. So this is the piece that we attached or this wasn't attached when it was working. None of this other stuff was here. And so I think, considering this piece twists with this post that goes to the tone arm, you've got this brass line that goes all the way over here. And so somewhere in there, it's getting enough pushback to keep it from to keep the tone arm from progressing, and it doesn't take a whole lot. So there could be some oil or grease right here. Oh, that is greasy. So yeah, so we'll take this off, get in here, get on the other side, and give it a good dousing of rubbing alcohol. Get any kind of grease in there because that needs to be dry as a preacher's pecker. Just dry, dry, dry. Cool. So, but I'm at a stopping point right now. We're going to come back to this tomorrow.